What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see, we are going to be revisiting the slugs versus pellets debate. Well, I don't know if it's much of a debate, but we're just gonna go back over those points, kind of maybe add to our previous video, add some of my insights as well as some that maybe have been missed, but we're just gonna jump right into it. So we'll start off with pellets, and I kind of wanted to start off just by explaining why pellets are shaped the way that they are. And you guys are all air gunners, so this I might just be preaching to the choir, but there's people that want to learn out there, and I'm still learning, so I'm just gonna kind of go over the basics of pellets. So pellets are shaped like this because they are drag stabilized. They are assisted by spin, but most pellet liners and pellet barrels have a very slow twist rate, around like a 1 in 40, depending on the barrel. I know a 30 cal FX liner is around 1 in 40, and it could be a little bit faster for the smaller pellets, but they don't need to be spun very fast to be stabilized because they have that skirt. And basically what they're doing is they are flying through the air like a badminton birdie. They have that skirt, and that extra drag in the rear is kind of making that dome face forward and fly straight. Because they are drag stabilized, they don't like to go very fast, which also makes them very efficient on air use. So most pellets like to stay in the high 800s to low 900s. And some of you may have experienced this when you're shooting pellets fast. You'll see that they will spiral or get very erratic in how they pattern on your target. And that's just because they're ballistically how they fly through the air. They're drag stabilized, like we said, and they don't need that super high spin. So when you're pushing them faster, they're spinning faster, and it can throw them off balance. There's a lot of other factors that make them destabilize at those higher velocities. But those lower velocities mean that they are very good at certain kinds of hunting and target shooting. So with pellets, some of you guys who are into archery will know what a flu arrow is, and they're mainly used for shooting aerial targets because they will shoot very fast and then die off quickly, so you're not launching an arrow into the next time zone. So that's kind of what pellets do. Like if you're at a farm or a more rural area and you're shooting more kind of not aerial targets, not moving targets, but on tops of barns and trees, you don't want to be sending a very efficient projectile into the air because you don't want it to carry forever. And pellets, they will retain their energy for about 100 yards, and then they start to die off very quickly, and they just kind of fall out of the sky. You can really reach out with pellets, but those who have will know how much elevation goes into it, and they're kind of just like falling at the target like this, and they just skip off. So that's what makes pellets like the perfect barn projectile. Inside of 100 yards, ideally inside of 50 yards, you will have extreme accuracy. You'll still have plenty of energy for pigeons, starlings, whatever kind of quarry you're going for, and they will be extremely accurate. They are a little more affected by wind because, going back to that drag stabilization, when you have a heavy crosswind, it's not just getting blown to the side, or if you have a full value left or right wind, it is flying into the wind like this. So it's kind of traveling like that, and that's how all bullets travel when they're shot into the wind. They're kind of bladed towards whatever into the wind that they're going. So they're not getting just blown sideways, they're actually flying into the wind like that. But because of that skirt, they are much more affected by wind, so you have bigger wind holds, and they're kind of difficult to shoot. But if you have a steady, consistent wind, you bench rest shooters will know you can still be extremely accurate with the wind as long as you know your wind calls. So that's kind of the down and dirty on pellets ballistically. They have a very low ballistic coefficient because they have a ton of drag, because that is how they are stabilized. So they don't shoot flat. But the advantages to running them in an air rifle are efficiency. So pellets tend to be a lot lighter than slugs because they don't need to have kind of that more ballistic friendly shape to stay stable. so you don't need to consume as much air to push them. So in any gun, really, you're going to see a lot better shot count shooting pellets just because of the weight. Another benefit in air rifles to pellets is they don't require as much tuning. Pellets are very accurate. They're pretty happy with whatever tune, really, as long as they're in that kind of sweet spot of velocity. And you guys over in Europe and England will know the sub 12s pellets can still be extremely accurate at very low velocities. So if you're shooting a 25 or a 22 cal around 600, 700 FPS, you can still be very accurate with those. And that also means you'll be extremely efficient, and there's a lot of other benefits to running pellets. But guys, if I'm missing anything throughout this video, please feel free to drop some info in the comments. Any experience that you guys have had with pellets or slugs, or anything that has been useful for you in tuning, or whatever has changed your air rifle journey based on what projectile you're shooting. So that's kind of the down and dirty on pellets. They're efficient, they are ideal in closer ranges, still great for hunting. We have a couple in front of us here. We have two 30 cal pellets. These are kind of this is a Diablo Heavy. We have a Hades. And obviously these aren't all the pellets and stuff that we offer. There are tons of different variations. The Hades are fantastic for hunting because they do have some expansion to them with that kind of biohazard cut into them. But a simple, just round nose is still very effective on small game. We have a little 177, I think it's a little 10 grainer. But these are super fun on starlings. I think this would be one of the most ideal, just kind of close 50 yards and in for any kind of small pests like pigeons and down. I would still probably go a little bit bigger for pigeons, but like starlings, dude, 177s freaking zap starlings. It's pretty crazy how hard they hit starlings. All right, so now that we've gone over pellets, let's jump into slugs. Slugs are a little bit different, obviously, because of their shape. We have a little array here. We have a 72 cal, which I don't know the order of these videos, which we'll be posting in, but we're probably gonna kill something with one of these in a few days. But we've got a 50, a 45, a 35 hybrid, which we'll talk a little bit about hybrids in a minute, and then a 25, a 22, and a 177 slug. So the basics of slugs, they need to be pushed faster because they don't really have a drag stabilization. They need to be spin stabilized. So slugs need to be pushed out of a barrel or a liner that has a much faster twist rate. In my dynamic and my impact, the FX liners have a 1 in 16 twist rate. So these are spinning a lot faster than the pellets. You use a G1 BC profile. So that basically means that it looks like a pistol bullet. It's not a boat tail or anything. And that is just how it is reacting with the air around it. That's its drag function. So they also need to be pushed a little bit faster. Slugs kind of have a sweet spot depending on the size. In most of my experience, I shoot a lot of 22 slugs. So I'm shooting them the high 900s to low 1000s. So between 970 and 1040 is where I've seen 22 cal slugs fly the best and be the most accurate. All right, so slugs, because they are a lot more ballistically efficient than pellets, you need to be a lot more aware of your backstop and foreground because they're going to carry a lot farther. So what we use slugs for is, obviously you've seen some of my videos shooting longer range with the dynamic. Prairie dogs, shooting them out to almost 500 yards, they carry their energy a lot longer. And that is just because they're a lot more efficient because they're not drag stabilized. They don't have a big fat skirt kind of pulling on the air as they fly through to keep that head pointed in the right direction. They are spinning a lot faster, and because of that, they will carry farther, and eventually they will lose that spin, destabilize, and just kind of fall out of the sky. But be careful, because they will carry very far. They will destabilize farther than you think. So they're not ideal for shooting in like barns and closer range stuff like that. Slugs I like to recommend for people that want to shoot 100 yards or farther. And because slugs need to be pushed faster and through a faster twist rate, that means they're going to consume a lot more air. So you're not going to be getting as high of a shot count out of your guns shooting slugs, because basically the heavier they are, the more energy they're going to carry and the farther you can shoot. So that means your guns are not only going to consume more air, they need to be kind of a powerful platform. So what I shoot mostly out of slugs, I have an Impact M3 and my Dynamic, both 700 millimeter barrels. The Impact has a slug power kit in it, and you guys know the Dynamics come with a pretty heavy hammer already. So I'm pushing those 34 grain slugs around 1040. So I don't get a ton of shots out of my Dynamic. I get about a mag. And my Impact, I have a 700 liter bottle, and I get about 60 shots with that. So that's getting me a lot more shots, but that bottle is about that long. So that is something you have to be aware of when you're switching to slugs. So one of the harder parts about slugs is they take a little bit more tuning than pellets, meaning they're a little bit less forgiving with how they like to fly. So basically my process in tuning is I'll start with kind of the velocity that I want, and I'll pick a projectile. And if that projectile doesn't like the velocity that I'm trying to get out of it, then I just kind of move to the next one. And when I find a projectile that likes that velocity, then I start to tweak with, like, I shoot two FX guns, Impact and Dynamic, and they both have the tuning wheel and the micro adjust wheel. So I'll start playing with the micro adjust and the larger wheel to just tune my hammer spring to see what finer velocity changes that slug likes. And with the Impact, I can tune the return, I can tune the front knob, and also tune it a little bit more refined. So while I'm making those fine adjustments, I'm kind of making note like where I am, so I'm not getting lost in the few things that I can tune, my regulator and my hammer spring. I'm just making note of where it's at, so I'm not making adjustments not knowing what was working or what wasn't working. But they do require a little bit more tuning. Some guns are easier than others, but they are awesome when you get it tuned. And I'm kind of making tuning sound like a scary thing, but it's not. And it is something that you guys should learn if you want to shoot slugs and shoot them well. Once you get it down and once you get a tuning process down, you will be amazed with the results, and your shooting experience will be that much more enjoyable. Because the slugs are a lot more efficient and heavier, you can move into larger game. So with a 22 cal 34 grain slug, I would be confident in taking foxes, coyotes inside of 150 yards, obviously with a nice dome shot. But when you get into these much larger calibers, the game you can take is a lot bigger. So this 35 cal hybrid, I've seen smash a pig's head in at 100 yards. That was Justin. If you go back to our Texas video that we posted in May, Justin made a perfect headshot on a pretty big pig with a 35 cal Impact. And moving up to a 45 cal slug, this is going to be coming out of like a Texan or AEAs, any of the big bores. And this is actually kind of a boat tail design, so this would be pretty good for the big bore long range competitions. I've seen a lot of people shoot these, but these will carry their energy very well, and you could take deer and other game of that size with this slug. And the same with the 50 cal slug. This is a 388 grain slug, so tons of energy. We've shot watermelon with this and other things, and it just blows it to pieces. So a lot of energy there. Again, also is going to carry their energy so you can shoot farther distances. And then moving up to the 72 cal 500 grain, this is what we'll be shooting out of an AEA Zeus. That has just boatloads of energy. Obviously not crazy efficient, but it's going to have a lot of energy on target, so you could take some very big game with the AEA Zeus. also dependent on shot placement and distance, but 500 grain bullet is going to have a ton of energy either way. But guys, that's kind of a down and dirty on slugs versus pellets. Again, like I said earlier, drop in the comments if I missed anything or if there's any information you want to add. Please be patient with me. I'm still kind of new to air guns, but ballistics and long range is my background, so it's something that I love. But yeah, guys, drop your information in the comments. Let us know what you want to see, if there's a more in-depth video you want to see on pellets or on slugs separately. But thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the video, and we'll see you on the next one.